Hello there, how are you doing? Now in this video, let's learn about threads. So threads are the mechanism that allows you to reuse code. Okay, so basically it's like instead of copy pasting, you include the code from different file to your class whenever you need. Okay, so let's see this in action, then it makes perfect sense. So when I think about threads in our application, where we could implement this one is if you go to person.php, as you can see, we have this kind of a ID system, right? So it will check if the ID is supplied or not. If it is no, it will auto increment the last ID, otherwise it will set the ID and all this stuff. Okay, so this is a perfect example that we could extract to threads. Okay, so and make it kind of a separate ID system, so that not only here, maybe we could use this thread in other classes as well as our application grow. Okay, so let's try this one. Let's extract this code to a separate thread, and let's use that thread here, and you'll see how it works. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder, and inside that folder I'm going to create a thread. Okay, so inside domain, let's create one folder and let's call it utilities. And here inside, let's create this file. Let's name it unique.php. We want to have the unique ID system. Okay? Unique.php. Now this is the one that is going to be a thread. Okay. So first, let's begin with namespace. Bookstore utils. Now thread, just like we would write class like so, because it's a thread, it's simple as that. Thread. Okay, so thread unique, this is the one we're going to create. Now what we want to do is so what we have here is we have this ID and the private static last ID. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this ID and the last ID both. Okay, let me comment it out before I delete. Let's just leave it here, and let's put them in thread here like so. Okay, so we just move the private static last ID and the private ID property from person to thread. Okay, now let's create a function set ID, and it will take the ID as the argument, which we want it to be integer type. Okay, now we check if the ID is empty. Okay, so if empty ID, what we will do is this ID, we will set that to increment the self last ID. Okay, this is same as we did earlier. In fact, we could even copy from here. Okay, so if that's the case, let's copy this block of code. All right. Now, because it is in a separate file, what we need to do is we need to provide two methods, kind of a getter and setter method. Setter will set the ID because we need to somehow get this argument, right? So how are we going to get it? So we're going to see that. So we need to create two methods. Okay, so one will be get last ID and another will be get ID. Okay, now let's go to person.php, and we have this accessor as well, get last ID. Let's copy this and then let's put it here. Okay, we don't have get ID, we can create one. Okay, and it will simply return this ID. Okay, so what we did here is we include all the code related to IDs from person to this trait. Okay, and this includes the properties, these properties, it includes this method, and it also includes these getters and setters. We're doing this because traits cannot be instantiated. Okay, so traits, they cannot be instantiated, so we cannot add a constructor. Instead, we added this setID method that contains this code. Now, when constructing a new instance that uses this trait, we can invoke this setID method to set the ID based on what the user sends as an argument. Okay, so let's go to class person. And what we're going to do here is we're going to use that trait. Okay, so the entire logic has been moved there for ID. So here I can remove all this code. Okay, let me just comment out for the moment. Now, what I can do is I can simply use the trait. To use the trait, the first thing we need to do is we need to go on top and we use like so, just like we've been doing. Okay, utils unique. Okay, so now that we have used this use keyword to bring this in, what we can do is inside this class, okay, always inside this class, what you do is you want to use this trait inside this class, right? So what you do, use unique, simple as that. Okay, now this pattern you will see when you're working with Laravel framework as well. So it's very good to know about the traits and how to use all these. Now here what I can do is I can say this set ID. Now this set ID refers to the trait, okay, and then we pass the argument, the one that we get when we instantiate, we get this ID. Before we were processing this here, right? But now instead of processing here, we are giving it to the trait, so the trait can handle it. Okay, so we're giving this ID to the trait, to the trait's method setID, and we use this trait like so. Now when this trait gets this ID, it evaluates. If it is null, it will increment just like it was happening in the person class earlier. Otherwise, it will set the ID and then it will update the self last ID as well. Okay, we have this method as well, get ID, which will show us the ID. So let's give it a try. Let's try it in init.php. Okay, so back here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let me comment this out. So the first customer, let's get the get ID. Okay, okay, so make sure you saved all your files first, and then okay, it's the unique.php. Okay, what happened is I put this folder inside domain. I supposed to put it on the same namespace as domain, not inside. So what I can do is let me move this folder out of this domain. Okay, first make sure you close all these files, okay, because we're going to move and later on it will be duplicated. So let's close this all. Okay, and now go to your folder directory and take this utils folder, drag it out. Okay, I want it to be on the same namespace, not inside the domain. Okay, now let's open this up, init.php, everything is fine. Let's give it a try, refresh. Okay, so we get this null. So the new basic with the ID of 1 is to null. It should increment to 2 by itself. Okay, now let's try on this one as well. We'll fix that up. First customer, this one is premium customer. Okay, so the first customers get ID and then the premium customers get ID. So let's try. Refresh. Person set ID must be the type of integer null given. Alright, so we gave null because of this type hinting here. Let's get rid of it for the moment just for testing. Okay, let's refresh. Okay, so the integer is 2. Okay, let's try changing it to 10. Let's see what we get here. 10, refresh, it's 11. So we're seeing the second one, we're seeing the premium customers ID. Okay, so we're not getting the first customers get ID, we're getting null, but the second one is working fine too. Okay, so a couple of things I noticed here in our trait. Let's change this from private to protected. Okay, so here what I've noticed is I have this double equal. It should be the single equal. So we are assigning this ID to the ID that we get from the argument if there is any ID supplied. Okay, so instead of double quotes, it was double equals. By mistake I had. So make sure you make it single. So we are just assigning the value of the currently passed in ID to this ID. Okay, so let's give it a try. And as you can see, now it works. So the first customer, basic customer's ID is 1 and the premium's ID is 2. Even though it was sent as null, it works. Now if you give some other value, first customer, if you set it to 5, refresh, it becomes 5 and it increments to 6. Okay, so this is the basics of traits, how you can extract your code to a separate trait. We use this setter, set ID, and then we use that in our person.php class. We imported, we use the trait like so, and inside the class we have to define like so, use unique, and then we just refer to the method as if it was in this class, using this. Okay, so this is how we can use trait and how we can be more flexible when we importing the traits and using in our classes. So watch the next lesson and it will make it more sense. Okay, so I will see you in the next video where we're going to talk a bit more about traits. Okay, so I will see you in the next video. Thank you.